Thank you very much, Sally. Before we get going, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting today and pay my respects to elders past, present, and anyone here with us today. When we were putting Tech23 together and we were thinking about some of the systems that we wanted to unpack on stage, the built environment, the cities that we live in, it's a mega system. If you think about the systems that you've all interacted with today, water, transportation, city planning, just navigating the lunch queue out there before, the man-made mega systems are really challenging to think about. And if you think about things like resource scarcity, climate change, growing population, isolation, people feeling depressed, I think we have to ask ourselves, are we really building our built environments in the right way for the future? And so I'm joined by 3 founders today, and they're all working on solutions that are going to help us with the energy transition and to transform the way we power, the way we move people. And so really, I'm going to hand over to you because it's all about you. But this is 3 solutions, but they're really about knitting together this system that we're going to need for the cities of the future. So David from Dovetail. A lot of the people in the room will have traveled by plane today or the last couple of days. What is it going to take to what are some of the challenges around truly moving our air travel, our air industry to net zero? And can you tell us a little bit about what Dovetail is doing to aid that transition?
Yeah. Well, first of all, aviation is not a particularly clean industry nowadays. And one of the issues that we've got is that we don't have a credible plan to turn into zero emissions. Bring another problem closer to us, and look at Australia. It's a big country, vast country, very rich, but with population concentrated on a few hubs like Sydney, right? If you live here, that's fine. You can, fly here. You can, get some sort of means of transport. But imagine that you live in the country. An example that we looked at is 10 years ago, you could fly between Albury and Canberra, the capital of the country. That flight disappeared. That company basically went bankrupt. And the main reason was because it wasn't economical. What we're trying to do is make zero emissions a reality, and a reality in this decade, not 20 years from now, and actually make it more economical. And how we're going to do that? We do that by transforming, by converting, by retrofitting existing small passenger aircrafts, something that we can do in 3 years. Compared to what it would take to develop an aircraft from scratch. More importantly, that's something that we can do here in Australia, and we can leverage all the technology, all the resources, all the capability that this country has. We're trying to do that. We're going to do that, and actually, apart from going into true zero emissions by retrofitting existing aircrafts with a full electric power plant, that is the main thing. And by the way, we're also going to bring hydrogen into the equation. We're going to do it in a short time, and we're going to benefit communities, particularly regional, rural communities, and even indigenous communities that are not very well communicated, not very well connected nowadays.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, David. And you gave me a great segue to Paul. So I'm going to talk a bit about hydrogen here. One of the biggest challenges we know we face, because we just heard this from Jahan as well, is the energy transition is how we're going to store this energy. I think for communities, for governments, for industries, thinking through that challenge it's a really big, complicated thing. And I'd love you to sort of help us unpack how Endu is thinking about it and how you're trying to solve that problem for communities.
Yeah, sure. So as you say, there's an energy transition that's happening, and one of the challenges with renewables is that they're not always there. Some days they overproduce, other days they're just not available. And the solution to that is storage. And batteries are a great energy storage technology that's used today. But again, what I suppose part of the challenge with them is that they're really great for short bursts of power, let's say over hours. But if you've got a gap you need to fill, maybe days worth of energy, what is it that you have backing yourself up so that you've always got energy? And, obviously energy is critical to everything you're doing. And that the pain that you feel with renewables, with that gap is particularly pronounced when you can't rely on the grid. So we're talking about, the regional communities off grid as well. And one of the go-to technologies, which is really great, is a diesel generator, and that conflicts with what you're actually trying to do with the energy transition. So what we really need is better forms of energy storage that complement batteries, that allow you to store energy in larger quantities and deliver it for longer periods of time, but the economics need to work, so they need to actually be a cheaper form of storage. And hydrogen, it's got lots of uses, and one of them is as an energy storage device. And really that's what Endure's doing, is we're actually taking hydrogen and packaging up the equipment that goes around that and really delivering a complete energy storage system where we actually take renewable energy when it's generated and water, we split the water, generate the hydrogen, we store the hydrogen, and then it's really just sits there, doesn't degrade, and when you need that energy we convert it back to electricity. So it's like a battery, but really what we're optimising for is being able to expand your storage capacity at a marginal cost. So these systems decouple energy and power in a way that conventional batteries and the battery chemistries can't.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Paul. Now you just did a bit of a segue for me again, so this panel is doing half my job for me. Diesel generators. Raj, we know we need to transition away from fossil fuels, but the reality of that transition is it's going to take time, and there's going to be certain industries, particularly heavy industries, that they're going to rely on diesel generators. And so I'd love for you to tell us just what are some of the industries that really use diesel and that rely on it basically, and how is capture going to help reduce their emissions? Give us a little bit about tell us a bit more about what you're doing with capture.
So capture could revolutionise the way we decarbonise, and we could become a significant player in the global carbon capture space. So we have simplified carbon capture, and we're one of the first companies in the world to develop carbon capture technology that can be retrofitted to a diesel generator. So we've developed a real product that's solving a real problem. So there's so many industries that use diesel generators for backup power. So it's construction, mining, agriculture, telecommunications, data centres, hospitals, military, industrial sectors, remote communities, regional communities, and so many more. And so our technology will play a huge role in decarbonising these emissions, and we're a solution that can be implemented as of next year and will play a real role in decarbonising global emissions.
Amazing. So we've got two retrofit solutions here. So let's just paint the picture for the audience so we know exactly what it is that you're building. So David, tell us a little bit about what is Dovetail, what's actually being built.
So what we do is we take an existing aircraft, typically between 9 and 19 passengers, and we replace the internal combustion engines with an electric motor plus a source of energy, a clean source of energy that is a battery or a combination of a battery and a fuel cell. We fill all the gaps. We take components off the shelf whenever possible, and we have partnerships with all the major suppliers of those components, but we're filling some of the gaps and developing technology ourselves, like for instance the battery pack, the battery system that we're developing ourselves, or the integration of the hydrogen fuel system with the airframe. We pack all of that, we modify the aircraft, we do all the engineering, and we get that certified, commercialized and industrialized. And basically what we do is we go to an operator, give us your aircraft, your polluting old aircraft, and we'll give you a shiny, semi-new electrically powered aircraft that, by the way, and this is one of the big benefits on top of going zero emissions, but with the electrification of the power plant, you can reduce operating costs by 40%. And that is what will enable the operators of these aircrafts to establish many more routes. And there is research that indicates that you can multiply by a factor of 10 the number of routes, the number of origin-destination pairs that will become profitable when you manage to reduce operating costs by that much.
Amazing, absolutely incredible. Now, when can I expect to fly in a Dovetail-powered plane?
So we have a plan to certify, commercialize, industrialize our first product in less than 3 years.
Wow.
And that will be a battery-powered Cessna Caravan. We have a launch customer with Sydney Seaplanes here in Sydney, but at the same time, we have a conventional larger airline, well, actually the largest regional operator in Australia, Rex Airlines, as our investor and as future adopter. And we think that the product that we're going to develop, in this case based on hydrogen, will enable them to basically operate all the routes that they do, for instance, in New South Wales, turning their whole fleet into a zero emissions, way more efficient fleet of aircrafts.
Absolutely incredible. Now, Raj, I'm going to stick with the retrofit vibe. Tell me about what is Capture actually building, and maybe give us a little bit of an indication of how you actually came up with this, because you did a bit of a wild science experiment, so I'd love you to share that with the audience.
Sure. So there's two aspects to our technology. There's hardware that's retrofitted to the exhaust of a diesel generator, but we can actually also decarbonise other sectors. So once we've proofed out the technology on land, on diesel generators, we can move into ships and heavy trucks, for example. And there's a solvent that we developed. It was actually by accident, but it's the world's first non-toxic and non-hazardous solvent. And what that means is, once we capture the CO2 emissions and the chemical solution is exhausted, you can then dispose it off safely into soil, and it acts like a fertilizer, improves soil health, and we're also adding CO2 back into the soil. And the beauty of that is, when everyday customers implement our technology, they don't need engineers and scientists on site to handle the technology. The maintenance team can look after it. The technology is really user-friendly. It's, will work in line with the maintenance schedules of the diesel generators. So it's a real solution that can be manufactured and scaled at mass. So it's really exciting.
It is really, really exciting. Now, Paul, Endure is a big purple box.
Right.
What's inside it? Tell us a little bit about what you're building.
Yeah, sure. So our smallest product size is a 20-foot shipping container, and it's designed to really be deployed alongside, microgrids, renewable generation facilities. So that's just to give you some idea of the scale. And you heard Jehan talk about the Holy Trinity, which is the generation, the storage, and conversion back to electricity. And we actually have all three of those and package them up into that system. And these are reasonably complex systems, but as I said, it's about making the economic case work. And really the problem child at the moment is, technology-wise, is the electrolyzer, which is the device that splits the water. And so that's where we're focused on from a technology development aspect, is really improving that system, getting the cost down. We have CSIRO as a partner, working with a team down in Melbourne on that technology, but also doing a lot of engineering up in Brisbane, where the HQ is.
Are our Endure boxes being deployed now?
This year we're building them now, and we're planning to deploy them this year, later this year.
Amazing, thank you. Now, at Cicada, we talk a lot about the 3 Ps, people, planet, and prosperity. And so I would love to just talk about what some of the impacts could be for all of your solutions. So let's start with people. Let's think about people's health, jobs, quality of life. The built environment really is, our cities can be really good for us, but they can also be really bad for us. So David, if we can transition to net zero, how is Dovetail going to change people's lives?
So we're going to be able to make of our society, or we'll make our society in our country more decentralized, more distributed, and that means distributing wealth, distributing resources across the different parts of the land. One of the benefits that we bring is that we can better connect communities, and that means that there will be more balanced growth, and will foster, will support, will nurture the development and the growth of regions other than the typical hubs. And from that point of view, I guess that definitely we can improve the quality of life of whole communities.
Paul, Raj, what about for you?
Well, I'll follow on people. Well, captures technology will not only reduce emissions, will play a huge role in reducing air pollution globally. Currently, 1 in 5 people are dying globally from air pollution, and there's so many other associated side effects as well from breathing in toxic air. Now, actually, one of our first customers that we've just secured in regional, well, actually WA, 20% of the diesel generators are in regional and remote communities, also Indigenous communities. So these people are relying on diesel generators for backup power, but they're also breathing in so much toxic air. So we'll be able to reduce 20% of their emissions and also improve the quality of air. So
congratulations on that new partnership. It's really
Thank you.
exciting to hear about. Paul, what about from NGO's perspective? What's the potential impact on the planet? I mean, you know, sometimes these numbers get huge, but can you give us an idea, an indication of how you'll be helping to decarbonise the planet?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the numbers, I think when you look at the energy transition, you know, the estimate is that there's going to be roughly $400 billion spent on energy storage to help enable that transition. So I think that, you know, that gives you some sense of the scale of the transition and the opportunity. And I think, you know, obviously this is something that everyone's driving towards. And then if we think about other countries where perhaps, you know, they're not as energy wealthy as we are, you know, there's probably 30 plus million people in the Asia Pacific area that, you know, need better access to energy. That's not going to come from fossil fuels. That's not going to come from grids. That's going to come from sort of isolated islands of generation, and that will be renewable grids. So I think there's, you know, in terms of the social benefit, I think there's a real imperative to make this work and make that transition quickly.
Amazing. So connecting communities, powering communities, I mean, this is what the future that we all want, but how are we going to get there? So I'd love to understand, you know, the potential of, you know, it's going to be a collective effort to rethink these systems. You know, we're going to need people in the room, government, policymakers, industry, innovators like yourself, designers, city planners. Tell us about some of the partnerships you're already developing, the alliances you're building, and what are some of the others that you still need to get there? So, David, we'll start with you.
Yeah, actually within our cap table we have 3 airlines already, and the one that is more known to all of us is Rex Airlines. They've become our largest investor, and they're really, you know, interested in making this happen. So it's good to see probably the major future user of our products that is invested in our company. And we're attracting similar traction. We also have a lot of interest from local communities. We are in discussions with plenty of local councils, typically the owners and operators of small airports that again will benefit the most of our technology. We've managed to also secure partnerships with significant suppliers and technology partners. So recently we announced a deal with Hyundai. They will be providing the fuel cell technology for our first prototypes. And we've managed to also secure support from governments. I would say that probably the bit that we're still trying to attract is the interest and the investment of VCs that for whatever reason they stay a little bit shy from us.
Well, that's a call to action if ever I heard one. Paul, you already touched about partnership you've got with CSIRO, but I know you've already got a pretty significant partnership with Ampol. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And some of the other alliances that we're going to need to make you be successful?
Yeah, sure. So we also have Ampol Australia on our cap table as well. You know, for them, they have 80,000 B2B diesel customers, so they can see, you know, they're going to be impacted by the energy transition. They're spending $100 million internally on their growing their future energy business, and so this is, you know, top of mind for them, and they're also a fantastic partner in terms of, you know, our channel to customers and you know, diesel generator users that perhaps can't add any more diesel generation to their operations. So they'd be really interested in this. And I think, as I said, we've got units that we're putting together now that we're looking to deploy. We've seen, in terms of the interest, in regional areas, a lot of applications in agriculture, water supply, whether it's for drinking, whether it's for irrigation, infrastructure assets that are off-grid, like telecommunications infrastructure. All of those applications is where we see uses for our system. So we're really looking for, partnerships just like the Ampol one, where, we can really, they can bring a lot of value add to the deployments that we're looking for, whether it's, just them using it on their own or being, helping us to find those end users that could really benefit.
Incredible, thank you. And Raj, we were just talking before about some partnerships. So tell us about some of the alliances that Capture's building, and what more do you need to build?
Yes, well, first of all, I have a similar problem to you. My cap table is looking quite empty at the moment. No VCs. But no, really in the last few weeks, we've had some incredible traction. I think, first of all, not many people know about us. So, being at Tech23 is amazing because we're going to get exposure, and everyone now knows that there's a technology out there that can decarbonise diesel generators. And we aren't competitors. We believe we need a mix of technologies to get to net zero and reach our targets. So most recently, we have secured 2 customers. So the first one is the largest energy company in Australia, and the second is one of the largest telecommunications companies in Australia. Now, these companies do not want to, go to battery or hydrogen in the short term especially. So our solution was really attractive to them because it's an easy retrofit, they don't need to get rid of their generators, and they can feel confident that they will have 24/7 backup power whilst, using our technology and existing, no change of habits to the way they're currently doing things. So that's quite exciting. And in terms of investment, we really needed investment, but most recently these same partners that are seeing the impact that we can make on their business, for example, the energy company, next year after our first pilot, we have the potential to reduce 40% of their emissions, and they'll be the first company in the world to reduce 40% of diesel emissions, so that's going to be really exciting. And these same companies are now really interested in investing as well in Capture. So definitely customers, investors, or anyone that can really help us keep moving forward.
So I think for all 3 of you, strategic partners that can help you build, are going to buy and invest in you, is really what we need to find here in the room today. I'd love to know, maybe if we put our systems thinking on again, what would it look like if we take inspiration from Ian of the fierce collaboration? How might we see the 3 of you potentially working together?
Yeah.
Well, as I said, what we're trying to bring is a tool to decentralize the country and to better connect and communicate different parts of the country. We'll definitely need to distribute not only the population, but obviously means of transport and ways to generate or store energy. So that definitely links very well with what Endua is doing, because actually we're going to need to enable all those regional airports to be self-sustainable and to be able to produce, if possible, store energy that probably the infrastructure is not ready. So technologies like Endua definitely will enable us to operate and to offer that product to the market in the future.
Yeah. And I also think, if we're looking into the future, it could be Dave's flying us around zero emissions, Capture's helping everyone in the world transition to get to 2050, and then Dave's going to be the new technology that takes over the world.
Yeah, look, I think, we've all got a regional focus, if you can if you can increase the quality of life in the regions, then you can support better populations, you make it easier to do business and to live in those areas. So I think connecting connecting the populations, giving them better access to energy, allowing them to continue with the infrastructure investments that they've already made. Okay, so there's no, need necessarily as much new investment to support what's going on there. I think all of that's important, and I think it'll, everyone always talks about the regions, but it's a difficult problem to solve. I think it's, it'll need more than just us three.
Yeah, we need a few more than you, but you're a great start, this three. So let's fast forward to go to 2050, paint a picture, positive picture of the future where all three of you are wildly successful. Solutions deployed around the world. People are, we have transitioned our energy. We have healthier cities. People are feeling happier. We're more connected. We may not all live in the same environment, but what does that world look like? Paint us a hopeful picture for the future.
So I would say a better connected country and world, definitely more balanced. I would say even more egalitarian. We have the opportunity to provide tools to the society and to the world to nurture a more balanced development of the whole country, definitely healthier and cleaner environments. And actually, we have a very interesting opportunity to, in our case, to put Australia again on the map of the large aerospace producers, developers, commercializers, something that probably the country lost a little bit, or missed the train, and because of all the disruptive nature of electrification into aviation, we have the opportunity to jump into that wagon again and be at the forefront of this new technology.
Well, I think maybe we'd be better educated, living healthier lives, and just consuming less, hopefully.
Yeah.
For me, probably two things. I'm really keen on, increasing our domestic manufacturing capability. So I think we've developed these technologies. We're vertically integrating much better. We're able to make our own things. We're making planes. We're making products. All this hydrogen technology. We want to be a hydrogen superpower as a country. But all of the technology right now is coming from, we're importing it all, it's coming from overseas. So how do we develop our own domestic capability and serve ourselves better and still be global players? And I think, the other one is we've got zero emission targets. What if we beat those targets? What if what we were doing meant, we deploy technologies in the next 5 years that mean that we get ahead of, where we think we are in terms of emission? Wouldn't that be great?
So more ambition, more deep tech, homegrown deep tech companies here in Australia that are globally exporting their products around the world and having a massive impact. So that sounds incredible. Sign me up for 2050. What can people in the room do to help you get there?
So a couple of facts. We have the third largest fleet in the world of these small aircrafts. So, by default, we're, large market for this type of technology. At the same time, we are one of the largest producers of lithium, raw material for batteries. We want to become one of the large producers and exporters of hydrogen. We have all the ingredients to, make this technology and make this industry big in Australia. Now we need a little bit of support of the community. Definitely policymakers, try to facilitate all of this, the introduction of these new technologies, for sure to facilitate other things like access of talent, and that is, a big hurdle for us. Overall the investment community. I mean, this is definitely a large industrial opportunity that we can make it big here in Australia. So definitely zero emissions is part of the narrative, but a large industrial proposition is what we're also bringing to the table.
Raj.
Well, I just wanted to give a shout out to Sally over there. I just want everyone in the room to know that Sally practices what she preaches, and she helps founders so much. Like, she makes so many introductions to investors, customers. So if each and every one of you could make one introduction to a customer or an investor for all of these founders, it will have a big ripple effect and really lead to change, because we can't change the world by ourselves. Like, we need everyone's help. So that's it. Thanks.
Amen to that, Raj.
Look, I don't know that I can follow that, but look, I think it's the same, right? Talent and bringing more people into these type of, startups, more skills, more skilled, individuals to get involved and take sort of some of those brave steps. The more we can make that easier for them, the better. One of the learnings of today is just all the founders that have come here. Like, it's so diverse, and you can't go deep in all of those. If you've got breadth, so we just need more people to underpin that. So I think similarly, I think it's about the people.
Amazing. Well, thank you, panel, for helping us rethink, reimagine, and potentially have the future of the roadmap for how we're going to rebuild our environment.